Hello everybody and welcome back to World of Warships Legends. My name is Spartan Elite 43 and tonight we are taking our very first look at the new Tier 8 Russian light cruiser? Heavy cruiser? Kind of in between? The Dmitry Donskoi. So, with that being said, let's look at our commander. We got Nikolai Kuznetsov. We have the Charles Madden and Francesco Membelli as our two inspirations. We're running Beyond Range, Intuitive, Punch Through, and Fixated with Refill Station as our inspirations. Or as our skill. For the build itself, we're running Aiming Systems Mod 1. We're running Propulsion Mod 2. We're running Steering Gears Mod 3. And we are running Main Battery Mod 3. We are fully upgraded, as you can see, and for the loadout, we are running our alpha tester flag and a permanent ultimate guardian camo that I made because this is primarily going to be an HE spammer, even though the AP is not bad either if you get a chance to use it. It does have some sonar and radar. The radar is a long range radar, 11.7 kilometers, but 21 seconds consumable duration. You get 2 of them as well, unless you run fully packed, in which case you'd get 3. Repair party as well, so you gotta love that, but that's pretty much every cruiser at high tiers. Survivability, you get 43,400 hit points with a 19% torpedo damage reduction. Artillery, you get 180 millimeter 57 caliber Mark III 180 Ms. You get 12 of those, reaching out to 18.5 kilometers with this build. Reloading at 8.2 seconds, and have a 180-degree turn time of 19.6 seconds. Now, why is this a problem? So, it's a light cruiser. It's got smaller guns than 203 millimeters, which means it's a light cruiser by designation, or at least by U.S. designation. I don't know if that's true for around the world, but generally speaking, a heavy cruiser is 8-inch guns and a larger on a cruiser. So for this would be 7-inch guns, I believe, which would be slightly less than the 8-inch requirement. But 7-inch guns, reloading in 8.2 seconds. While that does seem like a fast reload, when you consider the fact that the Buffalo and the Baltimore are reloading in roughly about that time with 203 millimeter guns, you see where I struggle to really care too much about this thing. It's not an amazing ship. That's why you don't see a lot of them. HE shell maximum damage is 2,500 with a 13% chance to set fire, so it doesn't even have that great of a fire chance, though let's be honest. It's an HE spammer, so it's probably going to be getting fires regardless. AP shell maximum damage is 4,840, which is also somewhat of an issue because when you do get those chances to use the AP and you get a Citadel on something, they don't seem to hurt that much. I mean, when we compare that to something like the Buffalo, just, putting something similar in there. If you look at the size, we're getting 5,500 damage. Yeah, that's an extra 700 damage. Plus, the Buffalo reloads these 203s in 7.7 seconds. So, again, it's just the Dmitry Donskoi. It's one of those ships, while it can be devastating as a fire spammer if you're getting good RNG, more often than not, it's just kind of a meh boat. It's a good radar cruiser, but most of the time people aren't in any position to utilize their radar. But you do have torpedoes. You get 2 quintuple launchers, 1 on either side of the ship. They reload in 117 seconds. They do maximum of 14,400 damage, which is exactly the same amount of damage my Iowa can do with a Citadel, which is hilarious. Torpedo range is 8 kilometers, which is nice. It's got those, I believe, Ochakov torpedoes, which is nice. It's one of the beauties of this ship because, honestly, one of the downsides of the other tech tree Russian cruisers is their suicide torpedoes. But torpedo speed's not great, 55 knots, which does kind of hurt. AA defense, though, it's not bad, but not amazing. 25 millimeter 4M120s, you get 40 of those, doing 84 damage per second, reaching out to just 3.1 kilometers. 45 millimeter SM20 ZIFs, You get 24 of those doing 124 damage per second, reaching out to just 3.5 kilometers. And then, of course, you get your 100mm 70 caliber SM5 1S secondaries. You get 12 of those, doing 117 damage per second, reaching out to 5 kilometers. For maneuverability, maximum speed is 36 knots, which is pretty nice. Having a little bit extra speed above, the majority of the heavy cruisers out there. Turning circle radius is 970 meters, though. It's awful. And that's my biggest issue with this ship. It's kind of like a Stalingrad in that sense. While it has a decent rudder shift, we've gotten it down to 6.3 seconds. You could get that lower if you went double steering gears rather than using propulsion mod. But in my experience, slowing down and speeding up using propulsion mod is more effective in this ship than trying to turn and dodge, because the ship is built in such a way that it just does not want to turn. Even when you have a good rudder shift, like the ship does not want to turn. But that being said, we're not running concealment mod, we're running a steering gear in its place, so our concealment's trash. A 14 kilometer detectability by sea, 8.8 by air, 2 is always guaranteed, and 8.4 kilometer detectability while firing in smoke. Now, obviously, if you forego the damage or the steering gears mod 3 and put the concealment mod in, that would probably go down into the 12 kilometer, maybe 11.8, something like that area. So keep that in mind. Armor, yeah, you don't really have any. So you've got your bow is a 25mm bow, which is unfortunate because that means everything 15 inches and above goes straight through this thing like no problem. And then on top of that, it also has a problem with the fact that the belt that runs along the side doesn't really exist. It's there, but let's be honest, it doesn't do anything. If we get rid of that, you can see it is actually an exposed citadel. It's kind of got a turtleback, but not really. It's not a true turtleback. Okay? But if we get rid of that, you can see that it is a raised citadel, and it goes a long ways. This is a very long ship, and with a raised citadel, and like I said, even with this armor here, slightly angled, like it's pretty much an exposed citadel. Like if you get hit with any sort of battleship caliber guns, you're generally going to be getting citadeled. It's not a preferable situation. So that's why I say you want to try to spec into steering or propulsion to try to juke out the shells. You have to, and you have to try to keep your distance, because if you close the distance, you're going to be struggling against battleships. Okay. Sure shot shells with a good ballistic trajectory maintain velocity, making aiming easier. That is the the other downside of this ship that I haven't talked about, which is it's got very good railgun sort of vibes to it. It's very flat trajectories that are going straight to the target. But the problem with that is you can't fire over the islands effectively like the Americans can, like the Japanese can, that sort of thing. So you don't get to utilize island cover very well, and because of that, you're exposed a lot. And when you're exposed, like, you can be the best dodger in the world. All it takes is one lucky hit from a battleship. Like, let's be honest. But it does have powerful AA for a cruiser, according to this, which a little bit iffy. But it's got decent AA. And it is agile. Ability to change direction, maybe. Being a little bit faster rudder shift. But let's be honest, this is not an agile ship. And anybody who thinks it is probably going to get dev struck. Dmitry Donskoi. The ship was developed from the Chapayev class. She received stronger armament and more powerful propulsion. Project 65. Dmitry Donskoi surpassed her prototype in all major characteristics: dimensions, speed, artillery, AA, and torpedo armament. She was designed in 1951, never built. So let's take a look at her. Again, you can tell it's kind of a modern cruiser in terms of it was designed after World War II. So, I mean, you can tell that just by looking at it. But you see those two gigantic funnels at midship. It's got a massive superstructure. And while the gun, it does have a very pleasant, like, staggered look. We got some secondaries right there above to complete the look of the nice little pyramid. I do like the look of this ship. I just don't like to play it. But either way, I think we can all agree that, fire spammers in the right hands, they're going to be nasty. And on that, let's get to gameplay. Alrighty, so we're going to be on shards in the Dmitry, or in the Donskoi. I don't know. what should we call it? Dmitry or Donskoi? And as you can see, our, our destroyer population is a little bit bonked. This was before the most recent update, so keep that in mind. I did record this right before that update. So that's why the teams are still unbalanced. But yeah, we're gonna try to push forward into trying to help our team win this alpha cap. Now, we've got a battleship with us. We got a destroyer with us. So we have the perfect formula for winning our side of the match. We've got a little bit of everything. We got a spotter, we got a radar, we got a freaking battleship, right? So in theory, everything that we come up against should be no problem. And so we'll see if that works out in our favor as we push into the cap here, or push around the cap. Now, first thing you're going to notice, our destroyer is not actually moving, which is always a lovely sight when you spawn into the game. You're like, great, the guy that's supposed to spot isn't actually going to exist. So at this point, I make up the mind that I'm going to have to try to carry this side myself. Not relying on anybody on my side to actively engage or do anything useful. So we're going to push forward. We're going to go behind this island. We would preferably not like to get spotted here, but in reality, we're probably going to get spotted as soon as that destroyer goes to get into the cap. Now, because of the changed spawn locations here, it does take a little bit longer for people to get into range to actually spot you. But in this case, I was actually pleasantly surprised that we didn't get spotted right away. And then, of course, when we do get spotted, I'm like, okay, well, we know where he's at. He's right there. So we're already zoomed in looking at him when he gets spotted. But fortunately, or unfortunately, he does get around the island, and we've already burned our first radar. But at least we know where he's at. We don't have to do anything crazy here. We're going to go around the backside of this island. We keep him lit up with our radar. Of course, he's in a position nobody can really take advantage of it. You could probably say that, well, that was a bit of a waste of a radar. However, is it a waste if it actually accomplished its mission? It lets me know exactly who's here, which is the Shima, and it allows me to know that he's alone in the cap, which should give my guy the advantage in terms of decision making. Now that he's woken up and he's going into the cap to contest. Now here we're going to start looking at starting fires, but unfortunately that the inability to fire over the islands is coming into play here, and it is really, really unfortunate because I would love to be able to actually shoot over that island. But our destroyer is going in. He's torping at a Republic. We've got the Shima there spotted. We're going to come around the corner and see if we can't help get rid of the Shima. Of course, he disappears right as we get around here. Our guy's contesting. The Shima's there. We're going to go ahead and start shooting the Republic, who's headed towards the middle. ZF6 goes down on the other far side of the map. Our Kaba doing what he needs to do. And you can see I'm using the HE here. I don't remember if I switch over to AP to see how it does on a broadside battleship. Because the HE is actually doing better than expected. Now, of course, it's a Republic. It's not the most heavily armored thing. And we are doing a pretty good job of hitting the superstructure because that thing has a massive superstructure. And you can see I do remember to go ahead and launch some torpedoes. Probably a little late on launching those torpedoes in that direction. But the thought process there is throw them out there and see what happens. You never know. Now, we know where the Shima's at. And we know the Republic we've gotten his attention. So, our battleship is pushing in, which is not an ideal situation. Like, this is not what you want to do right now. You know there's a Shima in this cap, and this Conqueror is just like YOLOing up in here. Now, Conqueror is very, very capable of removing a Shima in a single salvo. Like, very capable. But there's also a Republic there that's going to rip him apart, and there's a second Republic further back that's also going to be trying to rip him apart. So, as a Conqueror, which has limited armor, you're really not putting yourself in a good position here. And so we come out, we're going to be open water gunboating slightly here against this Republic and trying to get his attention so that he can maybe leave our guy alone, and immediately we get a fire. That's our first fire of the game. He fires HE at us, and I'm like, okay, well, that's not the worst. If he wants to shoot HE at us, good luck with that. He does damage con the single fire, however, and the enemy Republic that had started pushing forward here is gone. Like, just straight gone. So, that's a win for our team. And you can see, I've got 15 seconds. We're trying to place where we think the shots are going to go. We've got a Conqueror here, which is actually perfect. We got the friendly destroyer here. And we've got this enemy destroyer just sitting here who's behind the dead body of the freaking the Republic that died. So here he starts to move when he realizes I can actually hit him. And he's trying to get away from us. And unfortunately, we're just struggling to hit him at this point. But there we get a much better hit. 5 full pins with HE on that Shima, leaving him with nothing. And for whatever reason, I just completely forgot that I had a radar right here. Like, I should have radared that destroyer and finished him off. Or at least radared him so that my teammate could finish him off. But in my head, it didn't even think about it. I thought he was dead. But here you can see I do radar to get the guy off the board here. I take the shot. And are we going to finish him off? Yes. Okay. So Shima goes down. We actually take 10k through the bow from this Republic, which could have been much worse. We've got 2 Iowas here and a Republic. This is a dead zone for me. Like, I don't want to put myself in a position where I'm going to easily be annihilated by these battleships. Now, we haven't done that much damage, but I think we can all agree that I've been pretty, you know, helpful for the team. Finding the Shima early so we know what was there, helping my team push up the side, getting the flanks of the battleships, forcing them to react to us, and that means that our team got much better results. Now, here we start working on the Iowa. We get a nice shot there, first fire on him. Then we start shooting towards the bow. We get another fire on the bow, which is always lovely. Then we start shooting for the back of the superstructure. He does damage con, so we got about 30 seconds roughly before he gets his ability to be set on fire again. However, Republic has kind of forgotten about us, so we'll just go ahead and start trading with him. We've already set him on fire once, so if we can get another fire here, this could actually be a good idea. Now, we haven't done that much damage, but we are doing everything that we can, and it's just one of those things. Like, sometimes you just play a key role in winning the match for your team, and it isn't always about damage. And that's where this ship, I think, does pretty well. It's got the speed to maneuver around the map. It's got enough tank ability that it can take a bit of a hit, even though you don't want to be taking hits if you can avoid it. Here we get a fire on the Republic. He's almost gone. Our Shima goes down to their Republic. Conqueror manages to finish off our Republic that was going to die. And then I go ahead and I get ready to torp this guy. And my torpedoes are on the wrong side. So I end up having to flip back around. Now, this is a very dangerous situation, though we do have a nice, beautiful look, a chance to use the AP here. And you can see the AP, not that great at pin angles. If you're going to use the AP in this thing, you probably want to use Von Essen to help get some pin angles. But here you see I'm over-pinning the bow, and I'm not pinning further back. So I'm in a catch-22. So I aim a little bit further back, but still into the bow, and there we start to get a full penetration. He is basically, you know, giving up a lot of angle to our team as well. So we're thinking about torping. We get the torps away just as they're, well, I say we get them away. He knocks our torps out just as we're about to get the torps away. And then we switch over and start shooting his superstructure, and of course he loses all of his freaking hit points immediately. It's like people can't shoot anything until I get like a guaranteed kill on somebody. And there you can see, not able to pin even at this angle on the Iowa's belt. So AP on this thing is kind of sketchy. Again, maybe if you're going to go with an AP-centric build, go with that Isiroko Yamamoto, or you know, he's going to give you a little bit more penetration multiplier. But I don't think penetration is the problem. I think it's pin angles. So maybe go with the opportunity to use the Von Essen as a, you know, buff to your angles. Now, obviously here, we've got him spotted. He comes out of a smoke screen. We hit him with HE initially. And, I mean, at this range, you're never going to win this fight in a destroyer. Like, this is a light cruiser, you're done. I think he actually took a nasty hit from the Conqueror as well. And now we're looking at Yami over here, which is just happens to be a friend of Arons and Peaks, which is Boats and Hose. So we're going to try to get over here and see if we can't get some damage on him before this one's over. Now, look on the map. We actually didn't end up capturing the Alpha Cap, which is unfortunate to say the least. We chased the enemy out of it, but we never actually captured it. And part of that's probably my fault, because once I caught that flank, I just kind of went with it, and everybody followed me. So you could probably blame that one on me a little bit, but Boats is in a fight with a Richelieu. That's a fight that Richelieu shouldn't win, but you never know. Could get some bad dispersion. Yeah, it doesn't look like bad dispersion to me. That guy just lost half his hit points. But, yeah. Yami's backing up, so it's going to give us a chance. We're going to get a couple shots here before he gets around the island, which is huge. Of course, I say that as soon as I do, we get spotted by the plane. We get shatters on Yami's belt. We were aiming a little too low. This time we aim up a little higher. We're going to get the much better shot. And there we get 9 penetrations into the superstructure. And that's the one thing I will say about this thing. This thing has really, really good accuracy. If you're a good shot, you're going to have a good time. Now, Yami's over-angled. We're at a little bit further distance, and look at the AP. When you get these things to pen, the AP is God tier. Like, I'm not joking. Like, that was a Yami slightly over-angled, and we just worked him over with over 11,000 damage. So, do not sleep on this thing's AP. But maybe if you want to use the AP more often, try to look at that Von Essen to help buff that penetration angle. And other than that, 83,000 damage, a decent game overall, a nice little flank on the enemy team. Let me know what you guys think about the Donskoi. And if there's something that I missed, by all means, let me know. And if you like what I'm doing, punch the like button, leave a comment below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and as always, I will see you in the next video.